Welcome back to another segment of Get to Know. Today we got Daryl Cooper. He's going to tell us a little bit about himself, and before we get started, we're just going to hit the little share, like, and subscribe button and the little notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. And without further ado, go ahead and introduce yourself, Daryl. Tell us a little about yourself.
Well, thanks, Tony, and thanks for inviting me on your program. My name it's Daryl Cooper is my name. I've lived in Saskatchewan my entire life. I grew up in small town Saskatchewan as a farm boy. I have an agricultural background as well. I spent 38 years in finance. I was 14 years as a banker and traveled the province. And the last 24 years I was head Cooper Wealth Management. I have 5 children and 2.5 grandchildren. And like I said, I've lived in Saskatchewan my whole life and always loved my province.
Awesome. So we may as well get right down to the point here. What exactly happened in your perspective recently here?
Well, one thing that we should alert your viewers to is what happened was, well, I was nominated as by acclamation as the candidate for Saskatoon Eastview for the Sask Party to be the candidate for the 2020 provincial election. And in amongst that time, I guess things went a little hairy at the end, but I'll just tell you a little bit foreground before that. So when I got into when I got the nomination in June of 2019, I began to work in the constituency right away. And I realized that there was no executive. There hadn't been an executive for quite some time. So I built up the executive, a new executive by myself. I started knocking doors. I knocked all the doors in the constituency within the first 2 months. I made a pass right through by knocking everybody's doors and introducing myself. Now, you don't get a hold of everybody. Over the course of time, I also built up a good group of volunteers, but I did most of the door knocking by myself, and was on my third pass through when the issue happened. About 2 days after the writ drop, there was a hit piece put out on me by I don't know who, but and I guess it showed up on Twitter, and it was a post that I put on Facebook, and it was actually kind of trying to be lighthearted with regards to my personality and with regards to the origins of the coronavirus. And anybody that would have ever read it in full would have known that there was nothing there that I said that was stating that that was my policy or my belief or my truth on where the origins of the coronavirus came from. I just basically stated out 6 or 7 different options. Some of the crazy ones where it was like somebody ate a bat, right? Mm-hmm. Or it was contrived in a lab. But then I went into the lab, and there was another one where it was brought to Wuhan from the military games. There was a military games in Wuhan, and it was, the Chinese had mentioned something about, well, maybe the Americans or the Europeans brought it to Wuhan and started it there. So I wasn't making fun of it. I was just having fun with all the conspiracy theories that were out there. And then there was 2 of them that caught my eye as, these are something that, they have some credence. I didn't say they were, and I thought these were cool theories. Well, one was just to be brief on it, it was a fellow by the name of Thomas Cowan who he's a doctor in the U.S., who does a lot of research into different viruses, and he had suggested that possibly it could have been because of 5G, because he claimed that the 5G technology was the first. Wuhan was the first city in the world to be blanketed by 5G. And so I just left it at that. And I said, it's too bad that the video had been taken down by YouTube, because it's kind of an interesting concept. I never once claimed that it was my belief that that's where it came from. The second one, or the last one, was something that caught my eye more because, I'm a curious person, right? It was during the quarantine. I was bored. I wasn't, sitting on my butt watching, Netflix and that's just not my personality. I'm always curious to look outside the box and see what else is out there. I guess in this day and age, you're supposed to just turn on CBC or CNN or read the New York Times and say, okay, that's the truth, right? That's the truth, and there's no other truth. And that's just never been my personality, So this last one was completely blown out of, was completely misinterpreted intentionally by the people that posted it, and then of course the media ran with it without doing any investigation. And it was a scientific study that was done a few years ago in 2017 by some astrobiologists that claimed that during when the sun is in a grand solar minimum, when there's not a lot of heat coming from the sun, that pathogens are able to make their way from space into Earth, and they find the place of least resistance because they're not getting burnt up because of the heat from the sun. That the sun is in a lower frequency. That the pathogens are able to make their way to Earth, and they find a place of least resistance, which is where the atmosphere is the thinnest. And they claim that the Himalayas, I don't know this for a fact, but that the Himalayas is a place of least resistance, and that's why a lot of viruses come from China, is that the pathogens mix with the human cell and create something that is considered to be a virus. So it was. I found it to be an interesting. I found it fascinating. Never once again did I say that it was my theory, or that I believed that this was exactly where it came from. I was just curious, and I posted it. The sad thing about it is that it was clipped, or whoever did this, they took it from my personal page and put it onto my campaign page. Now I get that Daryl's Daryl, and I don't. I wear it, right? I mean, I take full responsibility for anything. I'm not trying to lay blame. I despise victimhood, and so I'm totally responsible for all of this, because I didn't keep my Facebook completely clean of any other narrative other than what was not. I wasn't allowed to really, I guess, explore my curiosity and be posting it on Facebook when you're running for political office. It's just not acceptable these days. So I don't know who did that, why they did that, why they put it on my campaign page, but that blew over. The next day, then there was it was a couple days later, it was the CBC did an article and actually vindicated me. The university professor from the University of Ontario, or of Ottawa, he basically said, hey, this theory's been around. In the CBC article the next day, he said, this theory's been around for a long time. It's not a conspiracy. He said it's been around a long time. It's never been proven to be science. And he agreed that, hey, you should take it off. And I did put a statement out. Well, I didn't put a statement out. The Sask Party Communications Department put the statement out. But regardless, it was my words, or my belief that, hey, I never ever believed that this was supposed to be science. And so then the next day, the Friday, there was another hit piece put out, and it was with regards to that I commiserated and communicated as, and this is when I will just read what the Sask Party said. that today that Daryl Cooper offered his resignation from the Sass Party, so and so. Mr. Cooper interacted with on social media. The views that Mr. Cooper interacted with on social media are concerning and not representative of the values of the Sass Party and our leader, and so on and so on. So I never interacted with anybody. I looked at different theories. I was sent a video, back in March or something like that, and so I started to, try to say, okay, is this stuff like that they're sending me? Is there any validation to what it is? And so you start looking at alternative theories that are out there and groups that are out there. I was not part of it. There was no membership club that I was part of. I was not commiserating or communicating with anybody. So that statement is false that was put out. I mean, that's not what I was doing. And I just had a curious mind, and I was just occupying my time and looking for things. The fact that there was 3 of them that hit likes, I honestly, I'd be the God's honest truth, I do not remember hitting likes. I mean, when I'm going through, you're scrolling through different things on there. I mean, I'm not gonna say that I didn't do it, because obviously it shows up that there was a like on there. But regardless of that, it doesn't mean that I shared their views, all the views. There's some really wild conspiracy theories out there, really wild ones.
Yeah.
Hey?
Lots of them, yeah.
Have you seen them?
I've seen lots of different conspiracies about all kinds of political things and health things these days. Yeah, there's definitely tons out there.
And so I aligned to. I was concerned about some of the things that were being said that involved children. And I'm going to leave it at that. People can do their own research on that. But I learned something through this, that 50,000 children in Canada go missing every year.
Yeah, for sure. So
go ahead.
So I was just going to say, it sounds like you're willing to take a lot of the blame for what transpired, or what would have led you to get into politics, and could you maybe explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, I decided that I needed a break from the financial world, and so to cut right to the chase, my grandfather was a member of Parliament in Deacon Baker's government. And I was always very proud of the fact that he served. And he went in at about the same age that I would have went in at, 58, 59 years old. And he served there till he had a heart attack and died. But I couldn't, there's many reasons. Number one, the one that led me to actually reach out and decide, what am I going to do after I sold my business? I had plans, but I was still kind of really, I'm a person that needs to keep going. I'm not, sit around in a rocking chair. So when the Jody Wilson-Raybould affair came on, I seen the corruption and the heat that she was taking, and I'm like, there's room for me to do this. And what a perfect age for me to do this, to finish out the last chapter of my life, to be in service to the province that I have liked. I have so many respect for the people of Saskatchewan. I've traveled the province from end to end, and I was really looking forward to serving people in this last chapter of my life, and that inspired me to get into it. And I did have some other notes. I mean, there was a quote that came out, and I always remember the quote, and it's if you choose not to serve in public office, then you're destined to be governed by those that do. And I thought, I can make a difference. I do have I have a lot of ideas, and I have a lot of ambition, and I have a lot of pride in Saskatchewan. I've probably been the greatest ambassador. I used to embarrass the devil out of my kids when they were younger, and we would go to the States, and they'd say, somebody would be in line for a sporting event or something. They say, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Saskatoon." And my kids go, Dad, just don't say that, say Canada or something. But no, I mean, I was proud of my province, and I didn't mind explaining to people where we were from.
Do you regret running for a party and not as an independent?
I couldn't have thought of a better party to run for than the South Party, because I believed that while they weren't perfect, that I could align with the values that they espouse to be. They were, and I'm going to say past tense, a grassroots party that respected the opinions of others, and that backed up their teammates. And I believe that a person like Brad Wall was the man at the right place at the right time. He put us on the map, and I have so much respect for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave us a swagger that we've never had. I grew up in the 60s and 70s thinking that we were inferior in Saskatchewan to other people. I literally believed that growing up on the farm. Like when my cousins would come from the Greater Toronto area for the summer to spend a couple months on the farm, they had this confidence to them, this swagger that none of my friends had and none of us had. We always believed that we needed government to take care of us. And Brad Wall changed all of that. And he gave us a pride, and he made Saskatoon, if at one point at least, it was the youngest city per capita in Canada, compared to when I graduated from high school, everybody left for Alberta. So the South Party was a natural choice. Now, if you're asking me after my expulsion from the party, or should I say replacement, I do regret not running as an independent, because I never gave my donors and my supporters the opportunity to support me.
So,
Yeah.
How has this impacted you both personally and professionally?
Well, I spent a lifetime building up a reputation and being a good person, and I certainly was. I'm certainly been far from perfect. After 59 years, you can find lots of things that I haven't done perfectly. I believe that what I did was out of line with what the party wanted, but the punishment didn't fit the crime. So it has. I was in complete and utter disillusionment when that call came Saturday to say we're not backing you, and so I've been very upset. Yes, it's affected me. It would be a lie to say that it hasn't affected me emotionally. I've spent most of my time just reflecting now, because I'm not the person that's going to flail out with anger and vitriol and accusations and blaming others, because, as I said, I wear it. However, I went from probably one of the more recognizable and respected figures in town to, I think people still have that, but it's not been a fun journey. It's been a character assassination that I don't know how deep it's went. I really don't.
So it sounds like the media also kind of jumped all over you without really asking you what your side of the story was, which is not true reporting. I think we're lacking a lot of that these days, is true reporting. It's just the echo chamber that we end up seeing. Is that kind of how you would view the media, especially after this?
Every time I made a post through the COVID quarantine. Now, had we not had the COVID quarantine, I wouldn't have had time to be. I would have been out knocking doors, because I love knocking doors. I love meeting people, whether they agreed with me or not. But every time I made a post on social media, I gave it, 5 hours, 10 hours, 24 hours before I actually posted it, because I wanted to make sure that I could back up everything that I said in a rational way. Now, first of all, the party never gave me the opportunity to talk to the media. They allowed their communications experts to do that, which I am disappointed in, because I'm a 59-year-old person that has the ability to speak to people, and I've been speaking to people my whole life. I've been in service my whole life. I just, but anyways, but yes, the media took it and ran with a story that was totally manipulated to be completely opposite of what was actually even posted, for goodness sakes, and not what they reached out to me. They all reached out to me, and I feel bad for these young people, because I know they're just doing their jobs, and most of them are really, younger people that are trying to make a job in journalism, and they would reach out and they'd be really kind and everything else. And then when you see the odd one that I talked to, all they wanted to do was get clips, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing the clips. So not one person. You're the first person that reached out to me and said, I want to hear your side of the story, because there always is two sides to every story. Mm-hmm. And so they were a major contributor to this whole thing. Yeah, absolutely. It blew it right out of the water. And anyways.
Yeah, like I said, I think we see that a lot these days, and we need to go back to true reporting, where we actually dig into the story and try and find the truth, rather than just echoing each other. And I think that's something we definitely need to move past. Are you planning to run again? And if so, why would you consider running after this experience?
I'm exploring lots of opportunities. I have had an enormous, first of all, I want to personally thank all of my friends, my true friends, and supporters that have reached out to me. There have been hundreds upon hundreds through email, text, telephone calls. It was, very, very kind. But there's also been hundreds of people from across the province that have reached out and are they're thoroughly disgusted with how I was treated and what happened, by all parties. So they're astonished that other people are doing other things that they're not being they're not being held to the same standard that I was. And so to answer your question, I am exploring all opportunities, and yes, I don't think you've seen the last of me. Let's put it that way. So, and I wouldn't say that if I hadn't received, over 100 people from across the province, and some from out of the province, that have reached out. And no, I'm always wary of who's reaching out to me. I have to be careful. But I believe that most of them are sincere.
Well, it's nice to hear that it's knocked you down, but you're not out. That's a good thing.
It took the wind out of my sails enough so that I regrettably did not put my name as an independent, as I do believe that I had a really good chance to win, because that's all I'm going to say.
Well, thank you for coming on and explaining your side of things. Is there anything else you maybe like to touch on before we close?
Well, I'm not one for making notes, and I like to just tell my story, as you and I have discussed this before. Yeah. And I can be quite verbose, and I guess, but I didn't want to get all political and everything like that. But I did have a few statements that have come to me, and I guess the one that comes on me is that when the hits started hitting me, people had warned me before, my friends in business, and they said, what are you doing this for? Like, you're just going to be in a cesspool. And I'm like, I guess I thought I was a bit invincible, maybe. I was naive. I was trusting of too many people. And I didn't listen to my inner guidance enough on a few things. But it goes to show, and I've said, the other people have said this, it goes to show why successful people, and I'm not trying to brag about myself, but I did work my literal butt off to raise my 5 children and create a successful business out of nothing. I was just a small town farm boy that left the farm in 1980 with a couple $100 in my pocket, and I built up a really good business. And it goes to show why successful people don't step up for political office, because they are subjected to all sorts of scrutiny and character assassinations over next to nothing. Had I committed a crime, or been sexist or racist or anything like that, you can expect this. But to be guilty by association, I can see why now that other successful people will not want to step up. And once again, I'm not trying to put myself in a category, but I just said it. I mean, I have been successful in life in everything I've done except for this. But like I said, I'm not done yet. I guess just in conclusion, Tony, I just want to thank you so much. I mean, it's been a pleasure to be able to at least participate in a forum where I can discuss openly and freely with someone that is interested in the other side of the story.
Thank you for coming on, and it's been a pleasure as always. We'll do this again sometime for sure.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tony.
No problem.